Hey there, Nate Urandi, Orion Training Systems. Um, Interesting topics today. First, on a little bit of a personal side, I'm nearly 50 years old, and I can I start thinking more and more about um, competition. First I was a lifelong swimmer through college from age 5, then segued into triathlon, and now I've been just cycling competitively for now my 14th year. So, you know, I've tried other things too, but what I'm finding is that the curtain's starting to come down. Like there's light at the end of the tunnel because I keep asking myself, you know, is this something I want to keep doing, or you know, sort of end in sight type of inner dialogues with myself. And what that tells me is that while I'm not forcing myself to compete, that it's certainly um, coming to an end. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop working out, stop exercising, and staying fit. But what I'm getting at is each one of us at some point in our lives is going to hit that point where um, it's more about enjoyment and self-fulfillment than the competition or the ultimate testing of boundaries and so forth. Um, I think we have to keep moving to keep living, but it doesn't always have to be about competition. And I'm still competitive myself, so I'm not panning anybody who remains competitive into their late 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. If that's a great motivator for you, go for it. What I'm getting at, I guess, is that as I go through this journey on my own, what I would challenge each of you to do is think about that. Are you competing because you feel you have to? If you are, you might want to reanalyze what you're doing and why you're doing it. Maybe pick something else, like, if you're a triathlete, as an example, and it's just feeling like a grind, but it's what you've always done. Maybe you love the days that you go out for your long runs and you're on the trails and you're surrounded by nature, and that really fills you up. Maybe instead of triathlons, you do trail running. Crazier things have happened. In any case, that's not what this is about, but it's something that has been poking at me more recently, so I thought I would share that with you. Maybe it gives you some perspective of your own. What I've been really hit up lately on, and this is an ongoing thread, but recently it's really cropped up again, and that is the proof versus evidence continuum. And, you know, people always say, if you can't prove an athlete is cheating, if you can't prove something, then shut up and assume the best as opposed to assuming the worst. Let's be very clear. Proof is nearly non-existent. It's nearly impossible to find. In the case of doping, it's pretty clear that at least half and as much as 2/3 to 70% of elite level athletes cheat. They dope. Um, Yet the catch rate hovers at around 1% or just over 1%. So if positive tests are proof of doping with athletes, how do we reconcile the huge disconnect between half to 2/3 are cheating, yet there's only a 1% catch rate? When you really think about it, the only proof we have is that 100% of athletes who are competing are not clean. That's the only proof we really have. That's the only statistic we really know is factual. So then we have to look towards evidence. We have to look towards patterns, and there's mounds of evidence out there. For example, clean athletes holding world records in sports or specific events that we know are rife with historical cheating. So here are just some examples. There are countless examples. Paula Radcliffe's marathon, minutes ahead of known dopers' times, yet she's clean. Usain Bolt holding the majority of the top 10 to top 20 times in both the 100 and the 200 historically, when we know those um, top 10 to top 20 times are taken up with some number of dopers as well. The Carl Lewises, the Ben Johnsons, the Linford Christies, other Jamaican sprinters, you name it. Yet he is head and shoulders above the rest, not only in physically because he's such a tall, big guy, but also performance-wise. Michael Phelps, 8 gold medals, 7 world records. I think, what is it, 5 Olympics worth of medals. You know, when you look at that, and when some of those gold medals and world records are done against single event or double event swimmers, and when you look at there's prelims, semifinals, and finals of most of the events, not all of them, that's a lot of swimming to do, and to do it at that level from beginning to end, it's implausible. The world records, since we're on swimming, the world records in swimming after the swimsuit arms race was radically pulled back. And anybody who swims competitively, whether it's in swimming or in triathlon, knows what a phenomenal benefit something like a wetsuit provides. So when you have swimsuit technology in the pool that was really leaning towards that sort of neoprene technology in wetsuits, all of a sudden FINA was like, whoa, it's more about the technology than the physical feat. And swim times got substantially slower when the suit technology got ratcheted back, and the amount of the body that could be covered by the material was also ratcheted back. Yet now we are experiencing world records again, just like in cycling in the post EPO arms race era. We've got watts per kilogram that are on par with when we know doping was rife in the sport. It's not because of better training methods. It's not because athletes want it more now than they did before, and therefore they're getting the same gains clean that they used to have to dope to get. That's complete bullshit. And so, again, you could look at biathlon in the news recently. You could look at cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, weightlifting. The examples are endless of the evidence that doping is still rife in sport. There's also been a very careful narrative that's been created, and this is not new news. It's the evil countries, it's Russia, it's Eastern Bloc countries who we know from 70s and 80s were, head fueled to the point of ridiculousness. It's them. It's not Australia, the US, the UK, the good countries. No, no, no. Our athletes are clean. Even at this year's Commonwealth Games, Australia anti-doping announced that of the nearly 3,000 pre-competition tests, that there were 3 trip tests. So 3 out of nearly 3,000, it's about a 0.1% catch rate. Now, if you remember earlier in this video, I talked about half to 2/3 of elite athletes cheating, yet only 1% or just over 1% being caught. So we're talking about 1/10 of what's already a failed catch rate heading into the Commonwealth Games. That is a complete PR stunt on multiple levels. One, hey, we're diligent, we're proactive, we care about catching cheats. 2, Australia's clean. If these are the historic rates of caught athletes and we're at 1/10 of that, we're a cleaner country. And then 3, testing is working. All 3 of which we know are complete bullshit. Yet the general public buys into this. And that's why when we have massive doping scandals, whether it's sport specific or competition specific, what I mean by that is, the Festina affair, the Cofidi affair, the USPS stuff, in cycling, or the Olympic scandals that seem to be more broad reaching, whether it's a country or whether it's a games specific. I guess the general public just doesn't give a shit, because if the general public cared and actually created outcry, things might change. But when it's just a small pocket of people who care and are screaming into the echo chamber, nothing's going to change. But what that should also tell you is that it's not just about individual athletes. This is a systemic problem across sports. I haven't even gotten to like tennis, golf, soccer, or football, the NFL and so forth. So, you know, um, pick your sport, problems basically the same. So I'll leave you with that. Again, proof almost non-existent, stupid argument to make versus evidence, patterns, things we know that absolutely cause us to raise eyebrows or should cause us to raise eyebrows. If they don't, your head's in the sand so deep. Enjoy the fairy tale, as I like to say. Um, in any case, I'll leave you with that. As always, welcome comments, good, bad, and ugly. Whether you leave those below or contact me directly. And as always, happy training.